Tesla stock has been dropping like a rock. Okay, I know that wasn't a rock. That was a pack of cards, but I didn't want to mess up my desk. So Tesla stock has been on the decline. And the question on people's mind is, what's the stock prediction? Where is it going? And how much longer can it take this pain? Well, I'm going to give you my Tesla stock prediction on where the stock is, but more importantly, where I think the stock is going. And yes, if you want a sneak peek, the answer is lower. But before you run and go sell all your Tesla stocks, lower for how long? Because I think a bounce might be due. Let's take a look at what's going on with Tesla. Okay, so unless you've been living under a rock, no pun intended, Tesla stock has been dropping. And why? Well, let's take a look at some of the headlines that have been affecting Tesla stock. So number one, Tesla stock closes lower than 150 for the first time in more than 2 years as analysts can't ignore Elon Musk's Twitter nightmare. So part of the reason why Tesla stock has been dropping is because of the whole Twitter fiasco, not just because he is kind of playing CEO of both companies. That's more of a sentiment reason why the company's playing, meaning they believe he's distracted and meaning he should be focusing all his attention on his baby or the business that actually makes money, which is Tesla. People don't like that the leader is distracted. But at the same time, I mean, he wouldn't be running several multi-billion-dollar companies if he wasn't a smart guy, if he didn't have smart people working for him. So I don't really think that the value of Tesla is dropping solely because he's over there working with Twitter. However, as you can see from one of the polls that Tesla or Elon Musk posted a Twitter poll that said, hey, I'm thinking about leaving Twitter. And the stock rose 3% just from him posting that tweet and that poll about should I leave Twitter, meaning leaving as being the CEO from running the company. The stock rose 3%. If you scroll down here, the article goes on to say, to be sure, it remains unclear to what extent Musk may be forced to continue funding the Twitter business, which Ives sees as an enterprise likely to continue bleeding cash. Just last week, Musk discussed or disclosed the sale of $3.6 billion worth of Tesla stock. See, part of the problem is while Elon Musk is not only quote unquote distracted running Tesla, he's also selling his Tesla stock to cover the purchase of a company that technically isn't making any money and has been on the decline for a while. Now, I'm unclear of what Elon Musk's plans for the company is and how to return it to profitability. But in the short term, not only is he taking his attention off his baby, which is Tesla, according to everyone else, he may see his Tesla's fine because he has smart people working for him. But in the public perception, he's taking his attention off of Tesla, his baby that's making money, and going over here to a company that is losing money. Not only that, he's selling his premium or prized possession Tesla shares to take that money and go over here to another company and fund it that's losing money. So there's a couple problems with that. Part of the reason the stock is tanking is because he's the one selling it. Billions and billions of dollars of shares trying to raise money to go over here and fund Twitter. I think you have to ask, is that sending the message that Twitter is more valuable than Tesla and we should all dump our Tesla shares and go over here to Twitter? I don't know if that's the case. If you look at this most recent article here, you can see that Tesla just announced or is preparing to announce that they're building a new gigafactory in Mexico with an initial investment of up to $1 billion. So they see the future in electric vehicles, the future in increasing their output. And I don't think that they'd be making that type of investment if they felt like, the Tesla party and the electric vehicle train is over and on the fritz and out the door. Last but not least, one of the things before we go over to the charts, Elon Musk also had this to say when one of his investors was kind of upset that the stock is falling and that the board hasn't said anything about Elon Musk's behavior. He said the $600 billion erosion in the Tesla stock, there has been no response from the company's board, said Gerber, who's the co-founder of Gerber Kawasaki, I hope I'm saying it right, Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management, because Tesla, you can see right here, is its top holding with a 7.2% weighting of the fund. So they hold a ton of Tesla shares, 7,192 shares as of Friday of this article coming out. And Elon Musk was quick to snap back. So Musk responded to this guy and said, look, we have no control over the Federal Reserve. Tesla is executing better than ever, but we don't control the Federal Reserve, and that is the real problem. Musk went on to basically say that the higher interest rates is one of the real problems that the stock and the overall stock market is selling off, and that Tesla is just kind of getting caught up in the storm of everybody taking some risk off the table, because as Treasury bills and the risk-free rate for 10-year bonds rise, if you can get a 10% return by buying a treasury bill, which is basically risk-free, why would you go into the stock market if a stock was offering 10% return, but you can get it risk-free on the treasury bill market? So Elon Musk is saying the Federal Reserve is the reason for the sell-off in the stock. Regardless of the reason of the sell-off, let's take a look at the chart and let me give you my prediction of where I think the stock is going. So if we look here, we can see Tesla has been in a downtrend since, way back here in 2021. You can see the stock has been in a downtrend. The problem, though, is lately that downtrend has pretty much escalated and started to drop even faster. You can see that the velocity of the stock falling was pretty calm in a slow drift. And then we just started to actually fall off a cliff as the Twitter fiasco happened, as well as the Fed continues to raise interest rates. But here's what I'm looking at in my prediction for the stock. Electric cars are the future. It's not like we're going to stop driving electric cars or go backwards and say, we don't really care about electric anymore. It's still the future. It's not only the future, it's the now. Other companies are trying to play catch up. Tesla is already there. So if you zoom out a little bit, you can see we have several different levels of support. So I'm going to start with this level right here. So this level of support, if you go all the way back, this is July 2020. If you come over to here, this was September 2020, and this was about the time that we had the whole pandemic drop right here. So I like to look at that and say, all right, what was the stock doing at its pandemic low? So about 120 is where the stock was at its pandemic low. And before the pandemic, the stock was at about 166.82. So what I really like to ask myself is Tesla doing worse than it was before the pandemic, or as the pandemic happened, when the entire world was locked down? You couldn't buy a car. You didn't need a car to drive anywhere because you couldn't go anywhere. And everybody was scared and didn't know what was going to happen and how long we're going to be locked down for. I would argue that even being in a higher interest rate environment, that's still not worse than a pandemic where everything came to a screeching halt, was locked down, shut down. You didn't need a car, didn't want a car because you didn't know if you were going to live tomorrow. So as the stock approaches this level, I believe maybe the stock has another $25 downside. I believe the stock could potentially come down here to about 120. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to get down there to 120, but that's the level that I'm looking at for this stock to come down to before we'll see a potential bounce. We also have earnings coming up on Tuesday, January 24th, where we'll get to hear how the company is doing and how many cars they're selling and what their plans are for the future, as well as you better believe if Elon Musk, or when he steps down as the CEO of Twitter, because I don't believe he's going to run Twitter forever, but he has to run it short term until he gets some leadership in place. You better believe once he steps down as CEO from Twitter, I think that stock's going to skyrocket just for that reason alone. And then the second thing is we're in this high interest rate environment. And when you think about buying a $70, $80, $100,000 plus car or truck, electric vehicle, plus maybe spending $10,000 to get your house or garage wire for electricity, it's probably not on the top of your list, as well as the money that you now use to finance that car and that electrical purchase. It's going to cost you more money to actually borrow that money, which means you're going to be paying more for that car over the period that you have a loan on it. So all of those things aren't helping the company, but at the end of the day, we're not going to be in this high inflationary environment for long where the product and the materials are going up. And we're also not going to be in this Fed continues to raise interest rates environment forever. At some point, Feds are going to pause or start to cut interest rates. That could be 6 months, that could be a year from now. But as things start to normalize, we'll be left with the fundamental aspects of a company that is on the cutting edge of technology and transforming how we look at vehicles today, and we're not going backwards to gasoline powered cars, and we're definitely not going back to the Flintstone age where they were using their feet to move the car around. We are moving forward, and the future is electric vehicles, and there's a lot of potential with Tesla, with the 18-wheeler, their sports car that they haven't released yet. And depending on where they go as a company, Tesla can get into motorcycles, they can get into boats, they can get into supplying other manufacturers with their batteries, since they clearly have figured it out. And so I believe there's a ton of upside potential in Tesla. Not to say that it's going to get back up here to 400, but who's to say that the stock couldn't come back up and challenge this recent bottom area right here, which will represent a 50-point move up, but maybe not before we get a 20 to 25-point move down. And then this could potentially represent a 75-point move to the upside. That's my prediction for Tesla. I think we move lower short term. He says he's found the CEO for Twitter. I think the stock rallies. I think we get through this high inflationary environment and these interest rates. And then I think the stock is back off to the races. So let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think Tesla has more downside to go, or do you think the stock bounces sooner than later, is getting ready to head back up? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up so I know to continue to making more videos like this. Hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when we release new videos on the channel, and I'll see you in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about Tesla.